Hey everyone, my name's Plonkerboy900, and welcome back to a brand new challenge. I'm really excited about today's video, as not only is it on a fantastic ROM hack, but it's also a really interesting challenge. Today we find out, can I beat Pokémon Blazing Emerald using only shiny Pokémon? As I'm sure you're all aware, shiny Pokémon are differently coloured versions of regular Pokémon. In the normal games, they're incredibly rare. The shiny rate up until Generation 6 was 1 in 8,192, after which it was made slightly easier, at 1 in 4,096. Still pretty damn rare though. You're not really likely to find one of these in your average playthrough, unless you really go out of your way to find one. This leads me on to today's challenge though. I'll be playing through a ROM hack called Blazing Emerald. This game has a lot of quality of life changes, as well as a lot of new features such as new moves, new regional forms, which may or may not be the subject of an upcoming video, and the physical special split. Another feature of these games is a higher chance to find shinies. To be specific, there's a 1 in 1,000 chance to find a shiny in this game. As a side note, I recently only just learned that there was also apparently a shiny charm available in this game, which brings those odds up to 1 in 500. I wish I'd known that before I started this run. What this means is that shinies, while still rare, will be much easier to come by than in the normal game. Hopefully by the end of this run I should have at least a few team members. Let's take a quick look at the rules. As the title suggests, I can only use shiny Pokemon for my team. I can catch non-shinies for HM usage should I need them, but every Pokemon I use in battle must be a shiny. No items are allowed in battle apart from Pokeballs so I can catch shiny Pokemon, and held items are allowed. That's the rules out of the way, but before we get started, shout out goes to these people who found the dabbing Delibird last time. He's in this one too, so if you see him just comment down below the timestamp, and you might be featured next time. With all that said and done, let's get to shiny hunting. I start the game and name my character Saitama. As always, comment down below if you get the reference. I decided that the best Pokemon to shiny hunt for first would be my starter. In this game, the starters are Clefairy, Eevee and Pikachu. I decided to go for Eevee this time, and I was expecting to be hunting for a while, but just 13 minutes into my search, lo and behold, the shiny reveals itself. I was really happy to get this so quickly, as it means that the real game can now begin. We've got a rash nature on ours as well, which ups special attack, so I'm going to want to evolve this into an evolution with good special attacking stats, like Jolteon or Espeon or something. With our new shiny I try and take on the first gym leader Roxanne, but this just wasn't going to work at our current level, as we just can't beat all three of our Pokemon before we go down. We do have the move Metal Claw, which is an absolute saving grace for this fight, but I was just going to need to train up just a tiny bit more. I try again at level 20 and this time things go much better. Aeron is at first and our Metal Claws really aren't doing that much, as she keeps lowering our speed with Rock Tomb. Somehow we're still faster though and able to bring it down eventually, and next up is Geodude, who just goes down in 2 hits. We're now just down to our final Pokemon Rhyhorn, and somehow we're still faster than this as well, and we do 50% with the Metal Claw. She does hit back with another Rock Tomb though to bring us down to KO range, and then she eats an Oran Berry as well. Not only that, we get outsped, but we survive with just 1 health remaining somehow, and 1 more Metal Claw brings it down to red health. Not only that, we get the attack boost as well, which means that now I can just go for the priority quick attack, which is just enough to finish it off. We win ourselves the first badge, but that was about as close as we could get. I decide to catch a second shiny before the second gym, so I head down to this new route just south of Juford Town. This hunt took quite a lot longer than the Eevee one did, but eventually we run into a shiny Wingull. I was hoping for a Krabby or a Skorupi personally, but a shiny's a shiny, so I'll take it. I catch it and add it to the team, and take on the second gym leader. In this game it's not Brawly, but Blake. She uses Dark-type Pokemon, so this wasn't too much of a problem. Murkrow goes down easily in 2 hits, and next up is Sneasel. We get outsped and hit by a Pursuit, but we take the hit no problem, and then 1 Metal Claw is all we need for a 1-hit KO. Blake's final Pokemon is a Houndour, but this thing's defenses are paper thin. I just go for the quick attack for an easy KO, and we win the second badge. That was a lot easier than the first gym. On our way to Morville City, we actually evolve Wingull into Pelipper, and face off against May. This was a borderline sweep though with Pelipper. Lombre almost gets one-shot by a wing attack, and her Absorb does hardly anything in return, so we can take out with 1 more, and Ponyta's up next. Pelipper's kind of a defensive beast as Stomp hardly does any damage, and 1 Water Pulse takes it out from there. Her final Pokemon is Wartortle, so I swap into Eevee, and instead of attacking, she just keeps going for Defense Curl. This doesn't worry me in the slightest. We have Crush Claw which can lower defense, so we do eventually just take it down without taking a single point of damage. That was another easy win. I wasn't even looking for a shiny here, but I just wanted to see what new Pokemon we could find here, and genuinely on the 9th encounter, we get ourselves a shiny Butterfree. I was not expecting this whatsoever, but once again, I'll take it. It does mean we have 2 flying types on the team, but I can't really be fussy, and I just really like shiny Butterfree's colour scheme. I catch it and add it to the team, so now we have 3 team members before we even hit the 3rd gym. Speaking of the 3rd gym, Watson was a real pain to deal with. 2 of our members are weak to electric, so you can probably see why I struggled here. His first Pokemon Luxio is not that much of a problem to deal with. We take it out with a Crush Draw and Quick Attack combo, but we do get paralysed. It's his next Pokemon Manectric though that really caused the problems. It has a new move called Thunderclap, which is a priority electric move. This means it even outpaces my Quick Attack, and EV goes down. As I said before, both of my other Pokemon are weak to electric, so we basically just get swept from there. I'm gonna need to either do some training, or find a new shiny Pokemon. I decide to do some grinding instead, and with a very over-leveled team, we finally get the win. Manectric now goes down to 2 Crush Claws no problem, and Electrode is up next. We do get outsped and hit by a Shockwave, but we survive the hit, and Crush Claw does good damage, and we get the defense drop as well. This means I can outspeed with a Quick Attack the next turn, which is just enough to take it out, and we're down to his final Pokemon Magnezone. This thing was quite scary. I decide to go for Bite, which doesn't do much damage and we don't get the flinch, and we go down to a Shockwave from there. Thankfully Pelipper is able to outspeed so we can hit a Water Pulse for decent damage as well, but he goes for the move Overcharge. This is an insanely powerful electric move, but it does paralyze the user. I honestly think this is the reason we won this fight as well. My last Pokemon is Butterfree, who actually got paralyzed in this fight earlier. I thought I was a goner, but no. We get insane paralysis luck, as he gets fully paralyzed twice in a row. This means we can slowly chip away at it with Psybeam, and eventually we get the win. That was insanely close. While in Meteor Falls I actually find a Sunstone, which I decide to give to Eevee, which evolves it into an Espeon. As I said before, our nature's good for special attack, so Espeon seemed like the best choice. I also really like its shiny palette in this game, as instead of the ugly green that we got before, we get this beautiful blue colour. Not gonna lie, this is way better than the original shiny. The next fight is Maxie, but I'm not going to lie to you, this was a really easy one. He starts off with an Ursaring, which has a regional form in this game, which makes it part fire. He outspeeds and goes for Thrash, which does do some good damage to us, but our Water Pulse is just too much for him. It goes down and next up is Camerupt, but it's 4 times weak to water, so it's a 1-hit KO as well. His final Pokemon is Typhlosion, another Pokemon weak to water. He does outspeed but just goes for Ember for some reason, which does next to no damage, and Water Pulse does a massive amount in return. Even the best of luck can't save him from losing though, as not only does he get a critical hit to almost take us out, but he also gets the burn, but it's too little too late. One more Water Pulse takes it out, and we beat Maxie just like that. To be honest with you, Flannery wasn't that much more difficult. She starts off with Larvesta, which goes down in 1 Water Pulse as well, as does her next Pokemon Camerupt. She sends out Rapidash next and goes for Double Edge, which to be honest doesn't even do that much. I hit back with another Water Pulse which almost takes it out from there, but she just hits another Double Edge the next turn, and takes herself out. Nice one. Her final Pokemon is a Skarmory, which is a Fire Steel type in this game, and she hits a Flare Blitz but it hardly does any damage, and once again I go for the Water Pulse, which brings it down to red health. She hits another Flare Blitz but we survive, and it's worth mentioning at this point that I'm pretty sure the trainers don't heal in this game, as we could just go for 1 more Water Pulse to finish it off from there, winning ourselves the 4th gym badge in yet another easy victory. Next up is Norman though, and he was a little bit more of a challenge. Linoon's up first, so I start with our new Espeon, and go for the extra sensory. It brings it all the way down to a sliver of health, as he just goes for Body Slam for a small amount. 1 more extra sensory takes care of the Linoon, and Exploud is up next. I just go for another extra sensory though, and we get a lucky critical hit for a 1-hit KO. Slacking's up next and is actually kind of buffed in this game, as you'll see in a few seconds. Extra sensory doesn't really do that much damage and we get taken out by a Night Slash, so I send in Butterfree. He's loafing around this turn, so I decide to put him to sleep, but as you can see, in this game Truant heals you on the turns you're loafing around. This means he's always going to be healing every other turn, which makes our life a little bit more difficult. Thankfully though, we're able to bring it down to low health, and on the turn he wakes up, he's loafing around so he doesn't even attack. This means I can go for 1 more Signal Beam to take it out, and we're down to his final Pokemon, Blissey. This thing has really bad physical defense, but the only Pokemon on my team with a physical move is Pelipper. I switch him in and go for the wing attack, and I wasn't expecting it to do that much, but we get another lucky critical hit, which takes it out from full health as well. I've been getting some pretty good luck this run. Blissey goes down and we earn ourselves the 5th badge. There's another fight with May before we can get to the 6th gym, but this was another easy fight. Ludicolo's up first and takes huge damage from an extra sensory, and just goes for absorb. Why does she still know that move? This means I can just take it out with one more hit, and a starter Blastoise is up next. I go for Psylight, which is a new move to this game. It's got 95 base power and can also confuse, so it's pretty good. We get a critical hit though, which takes it out from full health, and we're down to our final Pokemon Rapidash. I send in Pelipper, and after taking a takedown no problem, we just hit back with a super effective Surf. It's raining, so of course it's going to be a one-hit KO, and we beat May once again. Next up is Winona, and this was a decently easy fight as well. She starts with Swellow, so I lead with Espeon, and much to my surprise we outspeed. One Psylight takes out from full health, and Tropius is up next. I go for another Psylight, which does well over half as she just charges for a Solar Beam. This means I can take it out with an extra sensory the next turn, and Pelipper's up next. It just goes down in one hit though, so we're kinda sweeping right now. Next up is Dodrio though, which has a regional form in this game, making it part ground. She outspeeds and goes for a Brave Bird for a good amount of damage, but Pelipper takes the hit, and one Surf is enough to take it out from there. We're already down to our final Pokemon Togekiss, so I stay in and go for the Hurricane. Thankfully she misses the Air Slash and we do some good damage in return, but she does eat a Citrus Berry, and doesn't miss the next turn and takes us out. I swap in Espeon though and just go for another Psylight, which leaves her on a sliver of health, as she just goes for Wish. We're faster, so we can just outspeed and take it out the next turn, and that's 6 badges in our collection already. On my way through Mount Pyre, I decided just to see what kind of Pokemon were available to me, and genuinely on the 6th encounter, I find a shiny Haunter. I've been getting some really good luck with these shinies so far. Gengar is a fantastic Pokemon, so I'm more than happy to have this on the team, so I have no complaints here. It's also going to come in useful against the next gym. Before we can get there though, we have to face Maxie once again, but I'm not really going to show this fight as his team hasn't changed since the last time. As with the time before, we just completely sweep his entire team. We can now take on the 7th gym leaders Tate and Liza, who start with Grumpig and Hypno. I decide to lead with Haunter and Espeon, who both know Shadow Ball. I team up on the Grumpig first, Espeon's Shadow Ball does over half, and Haunter's can finish it off from there. Lunatone comes out next as Hypno goes for a Psychic to unfortunately take out Haunter, so I send in Pelipper. Espeon hits another Shadow Ball, this time on Hypno, which again does well over half, and Pelipper goes for a Surf to hit both Pokemon. It does decent damage to Lunatone, and is not quite enough to take out the Hypno. Lunatone just goes for a Calm Mind though, as Hypno hits another Psychic on Pelipper. One more Shadow Ball brings Lunatone down to low health, and then Pelipper can just follow up with a Surf, which leaves him in the red, and finishes off the Hypno. Their last new Pokemon Solrock comes out, as Lunatone hits a Psychic to finish off Pelipper. I send in my final new Pokemon Butterfree, as Espeon goes for another Shadow Ball, this turn on Solrock. It leaves him on a sliver of health, as Butterfree goes for a Signal Beam on Lunatone, which also leaves him on a sliver. Solrock goes for a Flamethrower, but for some reason doesn't target Butterfree, so we take the hit no problem, and then we take a Psychic as well. Now we can just clear up with one more Shadow Ball to finish off the Lunatone, and a Signal Beam to finish off the Solrock from there, earning us the 7th badge. Just one more to go. Before that though, we had to face off against Archie, who starts off with a Mightyena. I lead off with Butterfree, and hit a super effective Signal Beam. It's actually enough for a one-hit KO, and next up is Sharpedo. This thing is also weak to Signal Beam, so it also goes down in one hit, and next up is Dugong. Not only does this thing have a regional form, which makes it a part Dark type, but for some reason his is also a shiny. I think this is just a side effect of the boosted shiny rates in this game. Regardless, I hit another Signal Beam for good damage, as he hits back with an Ice Punch. We're able to survive though and finish it off with one more Signal Beam, and we're down to his final Pokemon for Alligator. I stay in and outspeed and go for another Signal Beam, and we get a critical hit which almost takes it out from full. He hits back with a Frostbite though, which definitely should be what Ice Fang is called. It takes us out from there, so I just swap into Haunter and finish it off with a Shadow Ball. Feraligatr goes down and we beat Archie for the first and final time. We're now just down to the final gym leader Juan, who starts off with a Mantine. I lead off with Espeon, but because of Mantine's huge special defense, it doesn't even do half. Not only that, we get burned by the Scald, but our ability means that so does he. This means that after the burn damage, one more Psylight would have been enough to take it out, but he just has to go for the rest. It doesn't end up being that much of a problem though, as we're able to take it out before it can wake up, but we're in bad shape because of the burn. Crawdont is up next, so I swap into Butterfree, and just go for the Signal Beam for an easy one-shot, as it's super effective. Politoed is up next, so I swap back into Espeon once again, and go for another Psylite, which does good damage. He does finish us off with another Scald though, so I send in Pelipper. It's raining because of his Drizzle ability, which means our Hurricane is 100% accurate now. It's enough to finish it off, and next up is Whiscash, so I send in Butterfree once again. Signal Beam does just under half, as he goes for Amnesia. I just go for another Signal Beam though, which doesn't do that much, as he burns us with a Scald. I'm able to whittle it down all the way to red health, but we do eventually get taken out, so I send in Haunter, who can just outspeed and finish it off with a Shadow Ball. His final Pokemon is a Kingdra, so I stay in, and Shadow Ball does good damage considering we're not fully evolved. We do unfortunately get taken out by a single Scald though, so I send in Pelipper. His Dragon Pulse does about half of our health, as I hit back with a Hurricane. Thankfully it's enough to take it out from there, and we've earned ourselves the 8th and final gym badge. Before taking on the Elite Four though, we have to face off against Wally, who starts off with an Altaria. I start with Butterfree and go for Quiver Dance, and if you saw my Volt White 2 video where I used a Butterfree, you'll know just how good this move is. We do unfortunately get paralysed by a Dragon Breath though, and next turn he goes for Safeguard, as I hit a Signal Beam for decent damage. He then starts setting up Dragon Dances, which is quite terrifying to be honest, as I bring it down below half with a Psybeam. Instead of going for a physical attack, he just goes for another Dragon Breath, so I can go for a Shadow Ball the next turn, which finishes it off. Gallade is up next, so I thought I could get another cheeky Shadow Ball in, but we get outsped and KO by a Fire Punch, so I send in Espeon. I outspeed and go for a Shadow Ball, which brings it down to a tiny amount of health, as he just sets up a Swords Dance. Now we can just outspeed and KO the next turn, and Delcatty's up next. It just goes down to a single Psylite though, and next up is Gardevoir. As with Gallade, a Shadow Ball brings it down to red health, and again as with Gallade, instead of attacking, he just sets up. His Calm Mind isn't going to save him from another Shadow Ball, and Roserade is up next. This thing's weak to Psychic, so a single Psylite's all we need for a one-hit KO, and we're down to his final Pokemon Magnezone. Even though it's not very effective, I stay in and go for another Psylite, which does over half, but unfortunately he hits back with a Zap Cannon, and he gets a critical hit as well. It takes us out from full health, so I just swap into Haunter, and we can just finish it off with a Shadow Ball from there. Magnezone goes down, and we beat Wally. Before facing the Elite Four, I make a couple of changes to the team. I buy myself a Link Cable, which means I can evolve Haunter into a Gengar. Not only is this going to be a huge upgrade, but look at that shiny palette. That is so much better than the one in the real games. This is where things get interesting though. They've added a few caves to this game, and in one of them, I find this item called the Luster Ball. Basically, this is a Pokeball that turns any Pokemon that it catches into a shiny Pokemon. This means that in theory, I can catch any Pokemon I want. I decide that I need a physical attacker on the team, as basically all my Pokemon know are special moves. The Pokemon I decide on in the end is a Rhyhorn. I catch a regular Rhyhorn, and sure enough, it's shiny. Not only that, we have the ability Solid Rock as well, which is going to be fantastic, so yeah, I'm happy with this. I evolve it into Rhydon straight away, and then buy another Link Cable so I can evolve it once again. We now have a Rhyperior, which also has a really nice shiny palette as well. This is our 5th and final team member for this run. So after doing some training, let's take a look at our final team. Overall, I'm really happy with how this team has turned out. I did not expect to get such good Pokemon considering it was just luck of the draw. Apart from Rhyperior, it was just down to chance of which Pokemon I got. Thankfully though, the entire team was pretty good. Will this team be able to beat this game's Elite Four and Champion though? Let's find out. The first member of the Elite Four isn't Sydney like it normally is, but it's Phoebe, I'm guessing because we already had a Dark-type gym. She starts off with a Dusclops, so I lead off with Gengar, and to be honest this is the only Pokemon we needed for this entire run. We're faster than her entire team, and Shadow Ball is basically a one-hit KO on every single Pokemon. The only Pokemon that actually survives a Shadow Ball is this Dusknoir, but even then she just goes for Nightshade, so we can take it out the next turn with a Thunderbolt. The rest of her team is just a one-shot sweep. Even her own Gengar can't survive a Shadow Ball. That was a really easy start to the Elite Four. There's a new member of the Elite Four here as well, Serena, who uses grass types, but we have Butterfree. She starts off with a Sunflora that has Drought, so this could have been dangerous, but it never really caused many problems. I go straight for a Signal Beam with Butterfree, which brings it down to a tiny sliver of health, as she locks herself into Petal Dance. I decide to take this opportunity to set up a Quiver Dance, as she can't really do anything else to me. I then just finish it off with a Psybeam, and next up is Vileplume. I'm not sure if this thing had chlorophyll or not, but we outspeed anyway and go for a signal beam, which takes it out from full health thanks to a critical hit. Ferrothorn is up next, but this thing is really bulky so it does survive a signal beam, and hits back with a thunder wave. This thing is really slow though, so we still outspeed, and finish it off with one more. Her next Pokemon is a regional form of Shuckle, which is part grass, and we do nearly go down thanks to her Leech Seed, but thankfully 2 signal beams are all we need. And next up is another regional form, Reuniclus. I send in Gengar and just go for the Shadow Ball, which doesn't quite take it out, and unfortunately she goes for the Psychic, which knocks us out from full health. Espeon saves the day though with a Shadow Ball, and we're down to her final Pokemon, Meganium. I outspeed and go for a Psylite, which does well over half, but unfortunately she puts us to sleep with a Grass Whistle. She does heal up with the Citrus Berry as well, so by the time we wake up, we're only able to bring it down to red health before we get taken out by a Petal Dance. I send in Pelipper though and outspeed, and just finish it off with an Ice Beam from there, winning us the second fight of the Elite Four. Next up is Glacier, who uses Ice types, and leads off with a Lapras. I start with Espeon and go for the Psylite, but in this game Lapras can have multi-scale, which means it doesn't do much damage at all. We do get the Confusion though, and she does hit herself in Confusion as well, which means I can follow up with one more Psylite, which leaves her on a sliver of health. She just goes for Perish Song, which means I will need to get out of there eventually, but I can take it out with one more extra sensory, and then I swap into Gengar for our next Pokemon, Frostlass. I outspeed and just go for the Shadow Ball for an easy one-hit KO, and Glalia's up next. She outspeeds us and goes for a Crunch, but it hardly does any damage, and I retaliate with a Surf, which brings it down below half. One more would have been enough to take it out, but she just goes for the Explosion, and just takes us both out from there. Mamoswine's up next, so I swap back into Espeon, and you guessed it, I go for Psylite. We end up getting a lucky critical hit for a one-hit KO. I have no idea if that would have KO'd without it, but I'll take it. Chrysalix comes out next, and this thing is a Rock Ice type Steelix, so I swap into Gengar as we have the 4x super effective Aura Sphere. I'm pretty sure this thing's defense and special defense have been swapped, as it takes the hit no problem and hits back with a Crystallize, which actually freezes us. Unfortunately we don't thaw out and we go down to one more, so I swap in Rhyperior. She goes for the Ice Beam, but thanks to our ability Solid Rock, we're just able to survive with 2 health remaining, and just finish it off with an Earthquake. Glacier's final Pokemon is a Walrein, so I swap back into Espeon and go for another Psylite, and we get another Stroke of Luck. It brings it down below half and we get the Confusion as well, and she ends up hitting herself. This means I can just finish off with an extra sensory from there, and Walrein goes down, winning us the third match. Next up is Drake though, and he was definitely the most difficult of the Elite Four. He starts off with a Dragonite, so I lead with Butterfree, and go straight for the Quiver Dance. He ends up going for Fly though, so I know I need to get out of there, so I swap into Rhyperior. Fly hits for hardly any damage, and next turn he sets up a Dragon Dance, which could cause some issues. I'm able to hit a Rock Blast though, and this thing breaks through the multi-scale ability, and we hit 4 times to bring it down to red health, but we just fall short. He then goes for a super effective Earthquake, but once again we're bulky enough to take the hit, and I can just finish it off with an Iron Head from there. Next up is a Dragapult though, and this thing is Fire Dragon. We get outsped and just KO'd by an Earth Power, so I send in Espeon. Thankfully we're faster and Psylocke does a good amount of damage, and we survive the incoming Dragon Pulse too. One more Psylocke is enough to take it out, and Garchomp is up next. I switch in Pelipper, who takes a Dragon Claw surprisingly well, and I fire back with an Ice Beam. We get a critical hit, but I don't think we needed it, and next up is Flygon. He goes for the Stone Surge, but it misses. I'm not actually sure what the accuracy of this move is, and this means I can just go for another Ice Beam for another one-hit KO. Drasparath is up next, and this thing is a Dragon Electric type evolution of Dunsparce. It actually outspeeds my Gengar and goes for a Cloud Burst, which is basically a flying type version of Draco Meteor. We actually survive the hit though, and in return Shadow Ball does loads of damage. For some reason he goes for Ancient Power this turn, and we actually survive with 1 health remaining. That was the stupidest play he could have done. We can take it out with one more Shadow Ball, and we're down to his final Pokemon, Salamence. I stay in and I'm able to outspeed, and hit 1 Shadow Ball for good damage, before we get taken out by an Outrage. I switch in Pelipper and go for an Ice Beam, as we get hit by another Outrage, and once again we survive on 1 health. That is some insane luck this fight. Ice Beam's enough to finish it off from there, and we've now beaten the final member of the Elite Four. All that stands between us and victory now is the champion Wallace. He starts off with a Wailord, so I lead with Gengar, and go straight for a Thunderbolt. We get even more insane luck right off the bat as we get a critical hit for a one-hit KO, and next up is a regional form of Tentacruel. This thing is part electric, so Espeon Psylite isn't super effective, but it still does huge damage. He just survives though, and despite getting confused, hits back with an overcharge which takes me out. He is paralysed now though, so Gengar can just finish it off with the Shadow Ball, and Ludicolo is up next. I switch in Butterfree and go for the Signal Beam, which does just over half, as he just goes for Leech Seed. This means I can take it out easily with one more Signal Beam, and Whiscash is up next. I switch in Pelipper and go for the Hurricane, which again does about half, as he hits back with a Stone Surge. Pelipper takes the hit with ease though, and we can go for one more Hurricane to finish it off. Gyarados is up next, so I swap back into Gengar, as this thing's 4 times weak to Electric, so one Thunderbolt's all we need. It goes down, and now we're down to his final Pokemon, Milotic. It is level 70, so it takes a Thunderbolt quite easily, and hits back with a Raging Waves, which is basically a Water-type Petal Dance. It leaves us on just 6 health, so I can hit one more Thunderbolt, and I thought it would be enough, but no, he survives on a sliver of health. He takes us out with one more Raging Waves, so I just send in Butterfree. He ends up getting confused though, and we get one final burst of good luck, as he hits himself in confusion and knocks himself out. That was a very anticlimactic win, but I'll take it. We beat Wallace, and beat Pokémon Blazing Emerald using only shiny Pokémon. As you all know though, we're not done just yet. There is one final challenge for my team of shinies to take on. You might be thinking that's Steven, but you'd actually be wrong. Instead of Steven, the final boss of this game is none other than Red. He's also much more difficult than Steven. Case in point, his first Pokemon is a level 100 Pikachu.
I'm in danger!
I decided to try this fight at my current level, but it just wasn't going to happen. Rhyperior can actually take an Iron Tail no problem and finish it off with an Earthquake, but his next Pokemon Blastoise just completely destroys my entire team. It's level 94, and all of my Pokemon are in the 50s and 60s, so there was just no hope. I decide to grind against the Elite Four a few more times, and come back when all my team are in their mid-70s. This time, things go much better. Once again, Rhyperior deals with the Pikachu no problem, and next up is Lapras. I switch in Gengar and go for a Thunderbolt, which does less than half, as he goes for a Psychic, which we somehow survive. This means I can hit one more Thunderbolt to bring it down to red health, as we get taken out by a Blizzard. I send in Espeon and finish it off with an extra sensory, and Snorlax is up next. I switch Rhyperior back in, and go for an Earthquake for some good damage. He does hit back with a Blizzard though, but we take the hit, and we can land one more Earthquake to bring it down to red health. We do get taken out by a second Blizzard though, but Espeon is able to finish it off with a Psylite, and Venusaur is up next. I make a risky play here and go for a Calm Mind, but this actually did pay off. He goes for the Sludge Bomb, which does less than half, so I can go for a boosted Psylite the next turn for an easy one-hit KO. I know from previous attempts that this wouldn't have KO'd without the Calm Mind. Charizard is up next, so I stay in and go for another Psylite. It brings it down to a sliver of health, but he ends up going for Flare Blitz. This does take Espeon out, but he knocks himself out with the recoil damage as well. We're now just down to his final Pokemon, and we've got 2 left ourselves. I switch in Pelipper as he sends out Blastoise, and go for a Hurricane. He does outspeed and go for a Blizzard, but we take the hit and Hurricane does some good damage as well. And next turn he actually misses the Blizzard. This means I can land one more Hurricane to bring it down to low health, before we finally get taken out. It's now down to my final Pokemon Butterfree, so things aren't looking particularly good. I know from previous attempts that we can survive a Blizzard, but he actually ends up missing. Not only that, but we get a critical hit Signal Beam as well, which is just enough to take it out. Blastoise goes down, and now we've finally done it. But I'm not gonna lie, that was a close one. I've gotta say, this was a personal favourite run of mine. I've always loved shiny hunting, so mixing it with the challenge video really was entertaining for me. I've gotta say this ROM hack is absolutely fantastic as well, definitely up there with Ultra Red, as one of my favourites. I would highly recommend that you try this game out for yourself. It really is a lot of fun. Let's take a moment to talk about the team. Considering that for the most part I didn't have much of a say in what Pokemon I got, I think I actually got really lucky with this team. Espeon was by far the MVP, and Gengar was pretty great too. But I do have to give special mention to Pelipper, who I thought was going to be absolutely useless, but actually ended up being a really good team member, especially against Drake. So yeah, overall I was really happy with the team. If you guys enjoyed this video, then please consider leaving a like, as it is really appreciated and really helps the channel. We recently hit 20,000 subscribers, which is absolutely insane to me. Honestly, thank you all so much. I haven't hit it yet, but I'm hoping that by the time this video goes out I will have done. Please. What challenge should I take on next? Leave a comment down below and I'll give you a shout out in the next video if I pick your idea. That's basically all I've got for you today, so as always, thank you all so much for watching. Until next time.